Let's bring in Liberal MP Garth Hamilton. Garth, always good to chat with you. Thank you for joining us. What do you make of the Chinese app DeepSeek giving Anthony Albanese the tick of approval?
Shock horror, who would have thought? Look, there's some good news here because we get to see straight away this is a propaganda channel of the CCP. They've not even tried to disguise it. You know, I thought maybe they might be a little bit sly with this one and sort of sneak it in for a few weeks before bringing on the propaganda, but no, day one, there we go. So we know what it is. But there's something really interesting here because AI just sucks up all the media reports in its area. That's how it produces its content. This is telling us something really interesting. The Chinese state media genuinely believes that a Labor, Greens, Teal coalition, a minority government, will cause chaos. They can see it. They can see exactly what's happening. And further, they see the opportunity to advance Chinese interests in that space. This should be really troubling for everyone who's out there considering voting Teal or Greens. That we are going to be exploited by other countries. The chaos that will come is foreshadowable. We know it's going to happen. And other countries are sitting there waiting for it to happen. Very, very troubling.
Yeah, I would have thought an endorsement from DeepSeek is the last thing Anthony Albanese needs at this point, Garth. Speaking of Labor, their green dream is toppling over. And when I say it's toppling over, I mean it's quite literally toppling over. After a wind turbine collapsed in Victoria's west during severe thunderstorms, viewers can see there the Burbank wind farm and the 112-metre turbine laying in tatters. Garth, I wanted to ask you, there are thousands of these towers dotted across fire-prone bushland, as well as close to roads and communities. Should we be concerned?
Well, I'll provide you with a bit of sort of context elsewhere, because I come from the mining industry where, unfortunately, significant incidences have plagued our industry for centuries. We've always seen safety risks. We've seen things fail. And we spend an incredible amount of money addressing our safety, making sure we have the highest standards in the world, and we do in the Australian mining industry. But we're very well aware of it. We understand that. And some of the costs of our thermal coal covers the steps that we take to prevent this. And why I raise this is because we should see all energy sources the same way. And we should stop pretending that renewable energy is perfect, without flaw, and doesn't have instances just like this that we should be considering when we look at the broader picture. So, wind turbines aren't perfect. They often have community pushback. We see here sometimes they fail. We should stop putting it on a pedestal and thinking that renewable energy is the solution to everything. It's not. It's like everything else. It has problems. We should start being real.
Absolutely, we need to be real. I mean, these are the things you don't hear about from Labor nor the Greens, Garth, that when these things collapse, that they actually are very problematic and extremely dangerous, not just to people, but to the environment. But not that you'll ever hear that. Now, Garth, I want to ask you about the two by-election results in Melbourne. What's your take on it? It was certainly a bad night for the Greens, but also Labor.
Look, as a Queenslander, I'm pretty far removed. I've been wondering why Victorians vote so heavily towards Labor. First thing I'd say is it looks like the Green brand is now toxic across the country. We're seeing that in the behaviour of their federal colleagues, and that appears to be playing out at a state level too, and that's good. It's the deployment of Greens policies that are hurting Australia from housing to our energy costs. This is what's hurting us. So it's great to see this happening. I hope that plays out further. I think their extreme position, the party, on a number of issues is coming back to bite them now. So some of the statements they've made that have got a lot of press and they've been very happy to get headlines, they're coming back to bite them. But the other point I think is worth making here is anyone who starts to look ahead at the coming federal election and wants to pick something out of this, it's really hard to knock Labor off. It's really hard to knock Labor off. A 10% swing and they're still in the game. We've got a huge challenge in front of us, and it's really important we continue to stand by our values, which is what the new Liberal leadership in Victoria is doing, providing a clear difference from Labor, holding some conservatism.
Well, Garth, speaking of values, just before we let you go, Anthony Albanese's clearly got to work out his, because he won't say whether or not he would deal with the Greens to form a minority government. We were talking before about the former Labor MP who stood as an independent in Paran. He got about 13%, and 70% of people who voted for him directed their preferences not to the Labor Party, but to the Liberal Party. That would send a strong message to Anthony Albanese, would it not, that Labor-inclined voters will not tolerate preferences going to the Greens?
Look, I think we're starting to see a schism play out on the left of Australian politics. This idea of an extreme position, it's almost the American style, focusing towards a very small minority at times and thinking that that's going to get you across the line. You've got to remember there's a lot of Labor voters who come from the Bob Hawke mould, who want good jobs, who love Australia, who think this is a great place and it's worth fighting for. There's a lot of Labor voters who feel that way, and when they look at the Labor government at the moment, they don't see it. They look at the Greens, they clearly don't see it, and hopefully they can look towards the coalition as a safe set of hands for people who are going to carry those values forward.
Garth Hamilton, appreciate your time tonight. Thanks for joining us.